I turned the...
While Phil is firing everything up over here, we'll just kind of give you a brief synopsis here.
Identify yourself.
Jeff Furrock, Lieutenant with the Police Department here in Muscatine, and thank you, Mayor. The police department at our range is currently located, and you'll see an overshot of it here down within the Muscatine Power and Water Plant, down on the south end where the coal fields are in and around that area. So when you see kind of the aerial shots of this, you kind of have an idea or kind of put yourself in that place there. So a little bit of history before we go. The police department's range was originally built right around 1992. At that time, Assistant Chief Ron King was in charge of our range, and there really was a need for it at the time because we didn't really have a really good place to do firearms training. From there, it is obviously evolved as a project. Before we go forward with the presentation, we do certainly want to thank the people that have helped us out. I certainly have not been the only person working on this project. Many of the people that you see in here with the police department, with Public Works, along with Parks and Recs, and Power and Water, most certainly because we're on their property, have helped us complete this. And of the most important here is you folks here for allowing us the time to come here to present this and ask for your assistance with it. Just again, a brief history about our range. I'm going to, it's a little difficult to see through the slide here, but try and kind of acclimate you to the picture here. This is or was our range down at Power and Water. You see the kind of the pillars that right before you here, they're red, they're right behind the picnic tables. That is what we call the 50-yard line. It is from those barricades to the firing point, which is really the furthest most part of the picture. That's the bullet impact area, and again, if you can kind of see, there's a little black line that goes on the bottom of the picture there, though that is our target area. So again, we have a 50-yard line, kind of halfway in between that, we have a 25-yard line, and then beyond that is our bullet impact area. Now, this isn't something that we just wanted to develop a 50-yard line. This is really based off of what the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy trains on and qualifies on each officer when they go through the academy. So this is our range really around the area of 2006. In 2008, as many of you remember, we had the flood in Cedar Rapids. We had a lot of flooding around here. We certainly had this problem down at our range. What is the white wall that you see from us? Well, every member of the police department that's in the council chambers here tonight helped fill these sandbags, as well as the football team and a number of other people in the community. That's about a 5.5 foot wall of sandbags that encompasses really 3/4 of the entire building down there. And what our point was is to keep the water out of the building as it rose from the pond. So again, in 2008, we had quite a bit of flooding. Just as a point of reference, water got up about a quarter high on that particular sandbag wall. So in 2010, I bring your attention to the very far point of the picture again. That is what I originally was telling you about. Oh, I would love to anyway. Down in this area here is what I originally brought your attention to, the 50-yard line, the 25-yard line, and then our bullet impact area. The water in 2010 at that point rose to the level of about 3.5, 4 feet deep down at that particular area. The whole purpose of this obviously is, unless you're a Navy SEAL, you can't train in this kind of thing. So that's not the only part of the range that we use. The middle part here, and then the part most close to the range here we use as well. It's kind of a three-part part series here with our range. And then in 2011, just this summer, we again had problems with our range flooding, and we had about 6 or so inches of water within inside of our building. This is not, since 2008 up till now, it's not the only time that we've had problems. In '92, when we had the severe flood in Muscatine, water was roughly about halfway through the middle of these windows. In 2007, or excuse me, that was in 1992, I'm sorry, 1992, it was about halfway in the middle of the windows. In 1997, we had flooding down here, not quite this severe, but it was still not being, we could not use it. So again, 2011. What does this do for us, or what doesn't it do for us, is the great question. And because we can't train, that's a huge issue when it comes down to the United States Supreme Court and what they've handed down. The underlying part of this whole presentation here is liability, because we can't train. Constantly, or excuse me, the U.S. Supreme Court has consistently ruled that agencies must train their officers with firearms use of force, and that just static shooting or static qualifications or just qualifications themselves is not adequate training. And I mean static meaning I stand in one spot, aim and shoot, as opposed at a stationary target, as opposed to something that may move back and forth from side to side or up and down or in various other ways. So again, the point here is the U.S. Supreme Court wants you to do more. What can we do with a new range? Well, obviously we can train, because currently we can't, because we have no range. We have to come up with ultimate range of just maintaining state standards with qualifications. We can utilize our existing targets, but and make a reactionary type training facility, obviously favored by the courts. With this new location that we're proposing, we can have long and short range type of training. We can have additional opportunities because of the spacing, as well as we can, when not flooded at all, utilize our existing building that is down there for heat, AC, shelter, classrooms, those types of things. I'm going to emphasize as we go along here, we still are going to use what we have because it's important, it's vital, but we're going to expand with that when that part isn't underwater, which is pretty consistently since, like I said, 08. So, what do we have here? Okay, again, we're down at power and water part. This is, I'll cut it right down the line here with this line of trees. This is our existing facility. We have the building that was underwater that we last seen the slide. We have some reactionary steel. We have a middle part that I was kind of referring to as like a secondary range. And this is what you see in the original slide on. The 50-yard line by the building. I'll try not to shake. The 25-yard line right about here. This is our target line here, and then the bullet impact area. What power and water, and I cannot thank them, or we cannot thank them enough, has so graciously allowed us to plan with, is this particular area that you see outlined here, roughly 150 yards long by roughly about 100 feet wide here. What the assistant chief here has done is put in place basically what this new range would be, a berm, a kind of a side berm over here to contain our rounds. We have a target area here, which is kind of difficult to see the rate. We have a firing line or a shooting line. We have kind of a walkway over here, and eventually we would have some parking and those types of things. We need to do a 5-year plan. That's how we operate. Obviously, in the city, that's how we want to show what we're going to do within the next 5 years. Our first year is really vital because this is what's going to get us up and going, moving, so that way we can get our training going or in order here. I'm not going to emphasize each one of them, although they're very important. It basically is we're going to get the necessities. We're building berms with what we're calling a milling area with millings from the city. We have a berm on the wing that we kind of highlighted. It's about 25 feet. We have electrical that needs to be run, air lines for our targets. We have existing structures in our range that we want to move up to that area. Building barricades, concrete slabs to put targets on, conduits that are run, for electrical purposes. We want to do some seeding just so that we don't have any erosion over time. Years 2, again, we'll go through these fairly quickly. We want to put down more concrete so that way it's easier or safer to train. We also are looking for lightings in the area, both at the 25 and the 50-yard line. Again, years 3, the cement companies are really liking us because we're really putting down a lot more concrete, expanding our side berms as well. Years 4, again, we're looking at expanding on our parking lot, that back area that I kind of highlighted. We're looking at tying together our existing range here to the top range through some steps that need to be constructed, and then we want to look at doing dividers for some berms so that way we can do some training all at the same time. So, and then years 5, our target system will be out of date. At that point, looking at a new target system and then expanding our electricity with that. So pretty easy for the most part, our 5-year plan. And again, tying it all together as we previously stated, this would be where our steps are, our parking area. We're looking at running conduit and electricity through this line here to light the entire area, our target system again, which needs light, or excuse me, electricity and air and those types of things going on. What kind of volumes are we looking at for what's going to do this? We're looking at about a 6-position range to expand to 10. We have a very large berm, working with Public Works, who's been a great help with engineering a lot of this. We have some figures of our berm, which is going to be roughly about 90 feet long, or excuse me, long and about 50 feet wide. That is really a standard on building berms for the distances that we're shooting at. It's a lot of dirt, 82,000, almost 83,000 cubic feet of materials. A lot of weight with that, about 12 million pounds, 6,000 ton, roughly. And here's where the proverbial rubber meets the road with it. What's this costing us? Well, we estimated the cost after it's all completed at about 36.6 or so. We have monies in hand, and they come from 2 different areas. I'm sure that you're inquisitive about that. Part of it is from the existing insurance claim that we received back in '08 with the flood with the building. We still have a balance left of that, and the PD has a line item in its budget for range upgrades, what we have done in years past. Combining those two, we have roughly about 18.6. So we're looking at a cost differential of about $23,000. Well, with the help of the finance department and some meetings with them, we have found that through the insurance trust fund with the city that that $23,000 can be sustained. So, what do we want to do for the scheduled use of our existing range? Again, the question I would ask if I were you is, we've put in so much money down there, now is it all going to go to waste? Absolutely not. Again, it all depends on Mother Nature and what it's going to allow. As it sits now, we'll give you kind of an idea. We still can't use the range, even though how dry it's been most of the summer, because this area right here is still under a certain part of water. But we can still utilize this area here and most certainly up over here. So, again, when Mother Nature allows us to, we're going to do that in the wintertime. Again, we have heating. We can use this for classrooms or DT instruction, a number of other things. If we can't use this, we can use this. We've done vehicle stop, tactical training here. And then this concrete that we see down over here, we really got in a couple of years ago, of not only with our tactical team, but the entire department as a whole, of training the line officers, high-risk vehicle stops, tactical entries into home. We can put up what we call tape houses in this area. We can put up fake walls where you put up sheets of plastic in between 2x4s, and we're making entries into these types of rooms so that way officers are getting a better practice with it, as well as our special response team. This will still be utilized when it is available. Again, I've already touched on this with the meetings and whatnot. You get an overall look. Some of you know that I have continued to travel throughout the United States shooting in competitive events, and I've been on a lot of ranges. This is as close a one as I can find, and this is actually in central Iowa. I was just on this 2 weeks ago. It has about a 20 to 25 foot high berm. It has a tapered berm that comes off to the side here to about the 25-yard line. It shoots, it's a 10 position